Hi, I'm Hugh from Virtue in Vain, and this is Behind the Music. So our latest release is Nothing Is All I Am, and we have 5 songs on this named Split, Blood Eyes, Between Reflections and Silence, Echoes and the Wilton Eye. We have really gone through so many different variations and so many different versions of these songs. We've even got to the point where we scrapped an entire EP's worth of content because we didn't feel like it was up to the standard that we wanted it to, which was hard when you kind of write so much and then you decide, that's not really for us. So when we really got down to writing it, we knew that if we're going to put out this EP, if this was going to be the final one of the story of the trilogy we were writing, then it had to be to the standard that we wanted, and we accept nothing less than absolute perfection. Split. So Split is the beginning of the EP, but it was actually the last song we wrote for the EP. So Split is basically a panic attack. That's what it was designed around, to be this kind of intense change between slow and fast throughout the song, as well as it was never designed to be a really long song. It was designed to be the feeling of how quickly a panic attack would hit you, and then thinking, how could we put that in music? And that's why the build-up is very slow, and then it immediately goes really, really, really fast. So when we wrote that, to get that feeling in there, because we've all had different experiences of panic attacks, it was really kind of collaboration of how can we make it feel fast and slow and go through those different emotions. But we knew we didn't want it to be a long song. It had to be short, it had to be very to the point. Blood Eyes. So Blood Eyes is a song title we've had really in our minds for a lot longer than when we started writing this EP. It was always one of the songs we knew were going to be the single. So when we started writing it, it very much came from the idea of we wanted it to come out of that panic attack idea and be very quick and very heavy. It was always meant to be the heaviest song on the EP, and we wrote that with that whole aspect in mind. Blood Eyes is all about anger and how that emotion can really control you, and how it's so unfiltered, it's so raw, and you really don't have any control over yourself when you kind of feel so angry about something, and what that kind of the images and your reactions to things can change. In its sense, Blood Eyes was designed around the anger you have with yourself, to be this kind of feeling of you don't know who you are now, you don't know how you're feeling, you've got this anger towards you don't know how to control certain reactions to things, and you respond very negatively towards certain things, and you can't quite understand that. So Blood Eyes was written around the concept of being angry at not understanding who you are and being unable to really control how you react to things and how you do things. So the Blood Eyes lyrics were always designed to be very descriptive and very obvious in telling that story. It was always meant to be kind of, when you read it, you understand it, you can visualize what that feels like, and it was written from the perspective of what does that raw, unfiltered feeling feel like. So when you come to the chorus, you got the song name, like Blood Eyes, Call for Your Demise, I am the omen, I am death. It is designed to be that kind of very literal feeling, that literal understanding of it is just anger, unfiltered, unprocessed, undirectioned, just pure in your face. Between Reflections and Silence. Between Reflections and Silence was one of the songs that we didn't really expect to turn out the way it did, in the best possible way. When we started writing it, it was just one of those kind of songs that we thought was just going to be tell a story to kind of fill out the EP, but then it just kind of manifested itself into a much more storytelling song and a much more kind of layer upon layer about a song that it was going to turn into, to the point where we made it the second single, because we felt from the time when it started to when it ended, it became a whole different aspect of what it was and what it was telling the story about. So when it came to writing Between Reflections and Silence from a lyric point of view, it was always meant to be about catastrophizing and overthinking. And this is something that I kind of have a lot in my life. So when I was writing the lyrics, it was important to me for it to convey how I felt, to the point where there are 6 or 7 different versions of the lyrics that I wrote before settling on the ones that we have now, because every time I went in there was another sense I wanted to get across, there was another line I wanted to do, and it got to the point where we wrote the song very early on, but it was very, very close to the end when we recorded it, that I actually said these were the lyrics. So you'll notice there's a lot of lyrics in the song and a lot of storytelling of going between this direction and this direction, and that was intentional to make that feeling come across. And I think overall, when we got down to recording in the studio and writing the music and having all the different layers, it really has come out to one of those songs which I feel that if you were to listen and read the lyrics, you get that feeling, you get that idea and sense of what it is and what the song is all about. Echoes. So Echoes is one of those songs that we've had in the riff bank for a very, very, very long time, and we didn't really know what we wanted to do with it. We actually had the song before we had Preservation out, and it was just one of those ones we didn't really know what to do with it, because it was there and it needed some work to make it what we wanted it to be, and we just kept putting it off to the side, and it just got to the point where when we got down to it, it became what it is, and it's a very more upbeat song for us, and a little bit more different the way we would approach songwriting, but it's turned into one of those ones where the more we play the song in practice, the more we're getting into it. Echoes is a more different kind of storytelling than I'm normally used to doing for lyrics. So the idea is, for Echoes, it's a one-man theatre show. And this is kind of the idea of you are putting on the performance for yourself, or the way that I think about it is that it's the concept of when you replay memories in your head, be it good, be it bad, this is the kind of way that I think we do it. It's one of those things where I think the kind of when you're talking to people and you get that, or if I remember back in school it was really bad, but it's kind of like the performance you put on for yourself in your head. So for me, I wrote it from the concept of you are the person in a theatre and you are performing for yourself, and that's how the story tells of how the person is putting all this thing and they're trying to remember all the different aspects of how it worked and what happened at the time. And it's that kind of idea of the things that we think happened might be slightly different. It's only our memory that really kind of tells the story. And looking at the bigger picture, it's very hard to tell what the difference between if what we thought happened and what did actually happen. The Wilton Eye. So the Wilton Eye was the first song that we had ready for the EP. It was one of those songs that we, again, had in a riff bank, and it had been worked on and worked on and worked on, but it felt that it wasn't quite a song ready to be released before, because there was always something more to be done with it. But the initial kind of concept of it being the chorus with the female singing and then the chorus kind of being a very big kind of statement piece was something that was always there throughout the writing process and was always meant to be the kind of main crux of the song. So when we came to actually getting ready, this was one of those songs where we kind of had the structure, but we just had to kind of put the pieces together. But by the time that we were getting towards the end of it, we knew this was something that had to be the last song on the EP. This was going to be the final song that would end the trilogy, and that's why when the song ends on the big chorus and has that kind of nice outro, that was the whole kind of point we had put together from when we'd had in For You Know It's a Mask of War, the prologue was a big lead in that on the Wilton Eye, it was the long outro to lead out. So it's like a nice, perfect sequence of it leads in really nice and leads out really nice. So it tells the full story of what we wanted. So the story of Wilton Eye, and from a lyrical point of view, it was the accumulation of everything that you felt from the beginning to the end, and all these different feelings, these experiences, both positive and negative, all the things that you've gone through and felt, and how this is accumulated into the way you look at life now, be that a more negative outlook, or how the way I wrote it as a pessimistic outlook to it. And so the whole concept of the story going through, from the verses to the choruses to like the bridge in the middle, kind of leading out into a big end chorus, it all tells that story of you coming to terms with how these things have shaped you as a person, how these experiences have taught you different things. And although it might not be what we envisioned for ourselves in our life, it's the idea that these are things that you've gone through and they have shaped you for who you are, and it's coming to terms with that and how you decide to move forward with that through your life. How are these going to maybe inform future decisions, or even just tell your story in your way, and how are you going to deal with it and you're going to cope. So for me, that was, this is now a part of who I am. I need to embrace that and understand that to move forward and be the best version of myself that I could possibly be. So that's Nothing Is All I Am. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.